Good evening. I'd like to call to order the Town of Sheffield Select Board meeting for September 6, 2022. Just want to remind everyone that this meeting is being recorded by CTSB. If you would like to record the meeting, please let the chair know and you are allowed to do so. So the first thing we have is a public hearing from National Grid regarding a utility pole installation on Ashley Falls Road. So I'm going to go ahead and call this public hearing to order. Are you speaking for National Grid? Great. If you could just come to the mic and introduce yourself and then present the pole application to the Select Board, that would be wonderful.
Hello everybody, I am Steve Hayward. I am with National Grid. I am here tonight requesting to relocate an existing pole. That existing pole is pole number 238. That pole is on Route 7A down there in Ashley Falls. I have some, I'm not sure if I can see, you're looking at that same thing.
Yes, we are.
Right. I have a couple of other different visual aids. I kind of just did a quick thing on Google Maps to kind of give this more of a visual.
Oh, great.
So that's coming from, I have one coming from the north side.
But I've already investigated the pole. Thanks.
The reason why I'm requesting to relocate this pole is because the way that the wires are configured now, that pole 238 is starting to lean in. So if we relocate that pole, those wires will be fixed in a better manner so that pole won't lean, won't fail, won't cause problems. And essentially that's the reason why I'm here tonight. I'm here to answer any questions if there are any concerns from abutters.
I have no concerns. The pole's definitely leaning out. It needs to be taken care of, and it's right along a hay piece and floodplain, so it's not anything near any residence or where anybody would really or should have any problems with it.
Nadine?
I have no problems, I think.
And this is this close to the river? Do you get into any issues? Are you going to Conservation Commission or?
As part of the process, we will go through Concom to relocate.
All right, great. So are there any questions from those in attendance? All right. Rhonda, how about you?
No,
Any
we
questions?
had one abutter came in today and took a look at the file, but she didn't have any questions after looking at the file.
Okay. So if that's the case, may I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved. Second.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, now let's see what the board would like to do.
I'll make a motion that we approve the request to relocate pole number 238 on Ashley Falls Road.
Second.
All right, and you did say you're going to go to the Conservation Commission, so there's probably an exemption on this, but we know that's being taken care of, so they'll take care of that. Any further comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. You don't have to stay for the rest of the meeting.
Thank you, I really appreciate it.
We appreciate you being here. Our next item is approval of minutes, and we have a number of sets to approve. One for June 30th, July 28th, August 1st, and August 11th.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes for June 30th, July 28th, August 1st, and August 11th as written.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The next item that we have is a report on excise sales tax revenues. Rhonda?
So these are for the meals, the rooms, and the marijuana state tax. So the state collects it and then sends it back to Sheffield. And this will be for the fiscal year that just closed on June 30th, these figures. So the room revenue was $117,632.73. The meals tax that we received was $21,434.81. And the marijuana was $486,065.82.
Now, this has nothing to do with the community impact fees. This is basically the sales, an excise tax on our retail, which would be Chris Weld, I believe. He's the
Yes.
only one who.
Yes,
Okay.
Berkshire Wilco, the pass. Mhm.
And what can happen with this money? What happens to it after we
It goes
collect
into
it?
the general fund and it's closed out to free cash, like any revenue that the town collects.
Which means the voters can use this next year with the Finance Committee's direction to potentially get things for the town. Nadine, I think you're on the Finance Committee, do I have that right?
Yep.
Okay,
But there won't be this pot of money sitting there for the
Right.
voters to decide. It will close out to free cash.
Right.
And when it all shakes out with what was left in budgets or what other kind of expenses that weren't expected, there'll be a pot of free cash, not just these set amounts set aside for the
right.
voters
But it's
to
a very
use.
nice amount,
It is.
yes. Okay, any questions from anyone on this? Pat, you need to go to the microphone, please.
Sorry, Pat Levine, 261 East Main Street. How does this compare to last year?
It's much higher, especially in the marijuana, because it's a full year. The year before, we only had a partial year because they were only open for a portion of the
Portion
year.
of the year. Great, thank you.
Rhonda, would there be any value to posting that on the town's website if people wanted to look at it?
That's up to the
Or
board.
if people are interested, they can call and get a copy of it?
Well, then-
And if enough people do, then they'll put it on the website? How's that sound? Okay, all right. Our next item is an appointment announcement for the Ashley Falls Historic District Commission. Would you help us with that, Rhonda, please?
Sure. So we received an email from Lee, I'm going to goof up the name, Batala, maybe? I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly. But he's writing to let us know that he lives in Ashley Falls in the district. He owns 26 School Street. He's interested in sitting on the commission. There is an alternate position open for that commission. So I wrote back and told him that you would discuss it and any action would take place at, not this meeting, but the next meeting.
Any comments? Okay.
Very good.
All right, our next item is discussion possible action regarding the request for the Park of Honor from the Sheffield Historical Society. We have a note in our packet from Paul O'Brien. I don't know if anyone is here to speak to this tonight. Doesn't look like it. So it's the usual, as they have been doing every year, 100 flags in Barnard Park to,
It's just what they have done in the
yes,
past.
right.
So I'll make a motion that we approve the request to install a Park of Honor at Barnard Park by the Historical Society.
Second.
All right, I just want to make a note here that they say that they're also hoping to have coffee and donuts on Veterans Day. I used to do that in years past. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next, we have a discussion possible action regarding a complaint from Doug Winsack, who lives on Boardman Street. This is not the first time this has been before the board. The board took this up, I think it was a couple of months ago, and I thought we had handled it, and we sent a letter to Doug, and he sent back a note to Rhonda and myself, which you have all had a chance to read. And in that, he brought up the same complaints about his next door neighbor and the driveway, supposed camper, oil leaking from machines, as well as a little bit of a tirade against the town and the select board for not enforcing the junk vehicle bylaw in our general bylaws, which we have been told by council on more than one occasion, and we also told Doug in the letter, it's basically unenforceable. It hasn't been enforced, it's very loose in its language, and that's something that we have on our agenda. At some point, we're going to have to address it. So we also received an email from Jason Sherman, who is his next door neighbor against which the complaints have been made. So we've also had a chance to read that, and let's talk about this and let's see if we can come to a solution and try to settle what is the Board of Selectmen's responsibility once and for all. Would anyone care to comment?
I would be happy to. I don't think this is within our purview at all. I think that this is a neighbor-to-neighbor issue, and if there are zoning issues, the complainants really need to take it up with the zoning enforcement officer.
I full-heartedly agree. A lot of these interpretations of our bylaws, I think, are misinterpreted. It seems to be more of a neighborly dispute than it is a selectman's issue. I think we handled it the last time. I think our decisions in the letter stands from our last time, and we should just let this go at this point and let the neighbors work it out.
So maybe we need to do another letter, which I would be happy to draft for our Thursday meeting, that is more specific in stating that this is a neighbor dispute, which they need to work out, and any zoning bylaw complaints which are going this way on both sides need to go to our zoning enforcement officer. Maybe we...
And I do believe has been investigated by the Board of Health. It's been investigated by the Conservation Commission. It has, I believe Paul Green has investigated it, and it has gone so far, very little has been had any issues on either side. So I don't know what more the town of Sheffield can do to resolve this. I think the town of Sheffield has done everything they can. It's just not to Doug's liking that the answer is what it is. So I don't even really believe that we need to acknowledge it again with another letter, but we can if you feel it's necessary.
Well, I don't disagree with Bob, but I know how you like to tie things up in a nice package, so.
I do. Because I'm hoping that this won't come flying back over our desk.
So if you
Yes.
wish to draft a letter, I would be happy to review it on
Great.
Thursday morning.
Great, okay. I think we know what we're doing. I don't know that we need to take any motion on this.
No.
And we'll see how well I can tie it up in the letter, okay? So let's move on to our next item, which is a discussion and possible action regarding a one-day alcohol permit for Dewey Hall. And this is actually for, I believe it's 5 days, if I counted right.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we approve the one-day liquor license for September 15th, September 23rd, October 13th, October 20th, and November 18th for Dewey Memorial Hall.
Second.
Ron, do we have everything we need?
We do.
Great. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, next one is discussion possible action regarding the board's handbook. This is a handbook we've done in the past and it's been updated. That goes to all board, committee, and commission members. Nadine had sent in corrections. Rhonda had sent in corrections. I don't know if you've had a chance to review it.
Mm-hmm. And the corrections.
Yes.
And I'm fine with all of it.
Okay, are we at a point where we could move forward on this?
Yeah.
And of course, it's a work in progress.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we approve the handbook as in its current revised state.
There you go.
That's good.
Second.
Okay, wonderful. Let me just put a bow on this one. We want to get it out to all board members, and then do we want this to be handed out by Phyllis going forward when she does the open meeting law and the ethics, or how would new board members get
Yeah, I
this?
think that
hate to
would-
put the responsibility on Rhonda.
Yeah, no, I think that's a perfect location for it. Just have it be handed out to new board members as they're sworn in.
Great, okay. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you both. Thank you, Rhonda, for reviewing it. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, Rhonda, I think the next one it might be yours. If not, let me know and I'll jump in. Discussion action regarding, this is the Community Compact Efficiency and Regionalization Grant to look at upgrading Permit Eyes software system.
So we received an email from BRPC talking about upgrading the Full Circle Technologies Permit Eyes. It's about 10 years old. 10 years old. We haven't done any major upgrades to the program since it started. And municipalities are now seeing the need to do that to make it more user-friendly and get the updates done. There's a cost associated with the upgrade. The one-time cost would be $8,000. And the second challenge for the upgrade is that all 21 municipalities need to do the upgrade at the same time. So BRPC is trying to apply for a grant to take care of that upgrade if towns are interested in having them handle it. I told him I thought it was a great idea, but that the board would have to make the final decision on whether we participate in the grant or not.
So is BRPC also looking for the $8,000 per community in the grant?
No, I believe it would be covered by the grant.
If they get all 21 communities,
Right, okay.
they will apply because it's an all or nothing.
Yes.
Yeah, then I make a motion that we go ahead and let BRPC apply for a grant to do this upgrade.
I'll second.
Okay, Pat, I see you have a question.
Pat Levine, Pat Levine, 261 East Main Street. The Board of Health is in the process of joining the permitized system under BRPC. Is that then going to be included in this upgrade? No?
This is building permitting software.
Just building and permitting, so they will never be merged as one whole
I
package?
have no idea if they will maybe down the line, but we're focusing, this grant will be just to upgrade the building permit software.
Okay, so it will be,
They're two separate systems run by the same company.
Yes.
Is what I understand.
yes, they are, which is why I thought if you're
Yeah.
upgrading it would be the whole platform.
No, because they serve two different communities. One's the building inspection committee, and that's been out there for what, 10-plus
10
years? And that was developed by building inspectors, and then there's the Board of Health, and I don't know what else they've got, but
Right, okay.
we've not been told they're merging. We've been told nothing about Board of Health. This is strictly building inspectors, okay? So I think we have a motion and a second. Any other comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, the next one is, just want to talk a few minutes about action regarding upcoming grant applications. There's a couple of them that are coming up. First, we're going to be having the Massachusetts Office of Disability. These are usually ADA type of grants. Those are going to be coming up, and we're still kind of thinking about that. The next one, there's going to be a Community Compact IT grant. We got that 2 years ago for the accounting system and then for downstairs in the treasurer's office, and then they decided it really wasn't quite as advertised, so we let that go. But there's been a lot of talk about digitizing records, trying to find a way to deal with records in something other than paper for permanency. Rhonda, please jump in here, but one of the things we're kind of thinking about is looking at tackling blueprints. And, you know, all the stuff, the maps, the huge maps that flow through the building inspector's office. The other thing, and again, this grant is due in early October, so there'll be another meeting to talk about it. But I think we're just trying to see if the board would be open to this so that we can explore it. The other one would be if the blueprints just hits a wall. Would there be any interest in tackling, starting to tackle a systems approach to the paper records that would cut across some of the disciplines here in Town Hall, like the assessor's office, the town clerk's office. We'd probably start right in here, to be
Yes.
honest.
I was going to say, we should start in our own house.
Okay, we'll start in our own house. But I just kind of want to get a feel if there's some openness to this, because I really don't want to spend a lot of time if this isn't something that the board would look to support.
Can you do both? I mean, I don't want to go just for the blueprints. I mean, the records are such a problem. If anybody's seen the basement, the attic, and, you know, the file cabinets. Do we have to just focus on maps as one avenue? Can we just group it as a one?
We usually can ask for about 45, 50,000. I think we could do that in 2 projects. But if one were to come out to be more expensive, because there's going to be another grant next year that we could start into the planning, and, you know, so we'll have a second bite at either of these. But tell me, which one is the most important?
You tell us what is most important.
Well, we're drowning in paper, so that clearly is very important. Now, I have to say there are some departments that the treasurer's office, it's very easy. After an audit, this stuff can go.
Right.
The assessors are very organized in their retention. The problem lies here. Maybe Board of Health records and Selectmen's records, because they're not all just tied into an audit and then things can go. There's so many different topics that it covers that it's hard to manage.
And part of it is just figuring out what you don't have to retain.
Correct.
So if there's, I just want to know, if we have to choose.
I choose the paper.
Paper? Okay, all right. Bob?
Is there any legalities in how we store records?
188 pages, I'll send it to you.
No, I don't want, I just want to make sure that we can digitize our records and still be in compliance with state.
That's not a problem, no.
Okay.
As long as we have it some
It's
way.
figuring out which records to throw away and which to keep
Well,
and how
part of-
long you have to
yes,
keep
and then
them.
how you digitize, and then who has to have access. I mean, there's quite a bit of work
Yeah.
into this, and this may turn out that this IT grant is not going to be far enough along other than in the planning, and I don't know if they'll accept that. So I'd like to do some work on this, but I want to know that you
Well,
guys have
there is
got
a
my
need,
back.
so.
You have my support.
Good. Bob, you're on board?
Yes.
Okay, and then, you know, I'll work with Rhonda on that. I also just want to bring up something. I don't know when it's going to come out, but we've had tremendous luck. I just want to have you start thinking about this, if you would be so kind. We've had tremendous luck with the shared streets and spaces. And we've also been talking about the need to kind of refurb, upgrade our town park. And I noticed on the last round of grants, Great Barrington got about $951,000 to work on, I think it was the Lake Mansfield Park. So this is opening up a new line of thought for me. And Rhonda and I have been talking a little bit about maybe some things that would be nice to do in the park. And maybe we want to bring that a little bit more forward. And I'm going to try and find out when the next shared streets and spaces are. And maybe we can, you know, I'm always for trying to find someone else to pay for what we need.
Absolutely.
So,
Or what
I think
people
that
would
be
enjoy.
good. Yes, and what we enjoy. Wonderful. So that was kind of that for me. So, okay, we're good. So, the next one is the update on the next one is a discussion of possible action regarding the funding request for the 8-town regional school district planning board. I believe that's about $15,000 for each. And Nadine, would you like to speak to this?
Sure. The planning board has used all of the funds that have been granted by the state to us, and there is no additional state grant available to continue our work. We do have some additional work that needs to be completed. The budget comes to a little over $150,000 to take us from October 1st until June of 2023. I believe we run out of money September 30th. So with there being no state funding, the planning board felt that our only option at this point was to come back to the towns and the school district. There was over an hour's worth of discussion about who to ask and how much to ask and where it should come from. And at long last, Steve Bannon said, listen, there's 10 organizations, it's 150,000, why don't we just divide it equally and ask each of the 8 towns and the 2 school districts to each contribute 15,000 to continue our work. Our hope is obviously by spring of next year to be putting this before the voters, but we can't really do it without some additional information and research, which we have to hire outside consultants to do. So some of that comes to finance and analyzing the financial figures, analyzing the transportation allotment, and then community outreach and educational visioning at this stage of the game is where we're sort of at this point. So I would like to make a motion that the town of Sheffield approve a request for $15,000 to the Regional School District Planning Board.
Would you care to second that, Bob, for discussion?
I'll second it for discussion.
Would you care to discuss?
I would. I was hoping that, of course, the state had started along with the towns on this project, and they seem to be lost interest. I also don't see much about the regional planning commitment for the 8 towns yet. That seems to be pretty obscure. That hasn't been worked out in any way, shape, or form that I'm aware of.
I don't understand the question on that.
The structure of the regional agreement.
Well, that's where we're going now, and in order to do that, we need legal guidance and a group to work on that. So that's kind of, we can't do that with 24 volunteers. So the project manager is sort of leading that charge by working with consultants who have written these regional agreements in other areas.
Okay.
So that's, we obviously can't present anything to the voters until we have a regional agreement to present. And we can't present a regional agreement if we can't get the input to get the work done.
It's a catch-22.
Yeah, we're stuck between a rock and a hard place. And the project manager, Jake Eberwein, has been reaching out to the state. He's reached out to our local legislators asking for support and guidance. And we still may get something from those requests, but if we don't, we have to have something that we can move forward with, or the work is going to stall. And I hate to have it be incomplete. I'd like to see us get to the point where the project is complete, the voters take a vote, and then we finish the work. But if we can't complete the work, then it's really not going to go anywhere else. And I'm sure there's those who would like it to die for lack of funding. But I think that, the 24 people, there's been more than 24 because people have come off the board and new people have come on the board. I think that those of us that have worked on it would like to see it to its fruition.
And I fully understand that. I really do. I just, as the direction of the project is headed, I feel less enthusiastic about where it is positioned now, and I'm not sure that I want to spend another $15,000 to get to that point just because the project is incomplete. Most of the information I have now would put me against the project as moving forward. So it's basically would be spending money to maybe prove where I think this is headed. But
that's only your vote.
That's only my vote, correct.
And there's a whole lot of voters that need more information to make the vote.
I do understand that.
So, George, if you have a comment, would you come to the podium, please? I am opening this up for discussion.
George O'Lane, Foley Road. When I've interviewed kids to go to Boys State and Girls State, one of the questions I asked them about was about the school merger. And every one of them said, bigger is not better.
Thank you. Does anyone else wish to make a comment before we continue our discussion?
Bonnie Silvers, 15 Bow Wow Road. I am on the school committee, and I'm also on the regional planning board. I have to say, I'm very uncomfortable with this. And I'm not coming one way or another, but I feel the thing that we had started with, which was an educational vision, has not been carried forth. So I may be seeming very unsupportive of what the majority voted for, but my fear is that it's more money going down the same road. And it has made me more and more uncomfortable over particularly the past 5 to 6 months. So that's just my statement. I know that at least one other town that has met has turned down the request. Not saying that we should or shouldn't, because I understand Nadine's point, definitely let's pursue, but I'm not sure what it is we are really pursuing. And at the bottom line, a lot of it is not what I thought for several of us we got involved with in terms of Southern Berkshire working with Berkshire Hills. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Nadine, let me ask you, I had sent an email to Lucy suggesting that they look into and potentially apply for this same efficiency and regionalization grant that Rhonda had talked about a little bit earlier on the possible Permit Eyes upgrade. Are they looking at that?
Jake is exploring it.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. I know that has to be finished in, I think, sometime in early October. I don't disagree with what's been said. The children don't get to vote, and sometimes they're wiser than their parents, and other times they're not. Personally, I'm not sure where this is going, and I am concerned that only $25,000 has been allotted to community outreach, which for 8 towns is, I'm just going to do the math if I can do it right, not a lot of money. And from what I understood, one meeting with a consultant was almost a town share of this. So I'm just concerned that it's heavy on consultants, and I wonder what's going to happen when it's all put together, that are we going to have enough money for community outreach? Because I do believe that we need to get to the point where this goes to the voters. All right, and maybe if this had come to the voters in our May meeting, it would have been voted down, and that would have been, the end of that. But I'm very torn on this, but I will vote in favor of this only with the proviso that I don't know what happens if the other towns don't contribute. Where does the rest of the money come from? That's one thing. Okay, and I don't expect you to know the answer to that.
I don't have the answer to that. What I do want you to know is that there is a video being done that will be available very soon through CTSB and YouTube and on our website that has been worked on over the last 2 weeks. There's been presentations made to both of the teaching staff at both schools, just like the presentation that Lucy and Jake made here. And there is work being done for groups to work with the kids to see what the kids are thinking on all of this. There's, I don't know that it's been scheduled yet, but the school committee rep from Monterey, her name is Laura Rodriguez, she's connected with the group from Railroad Street Youth, and they're coordinating some student activities. And none of these take a lot of money. It's time, and it's people's volunteers' time for presentations. We've done presentations at the Sheffield Senior Center, which went very well, created a lot of really good questions and comments that really provided me as a board member with outside thoughts on the process. So while the number 25,000 doesn't seem like a lot, we are doing things that don't cost a lot of money to do the outreach.
Good, that's good.
So I want you to know that your recommendation to do a video is in process. I'm hoping it'll be done by the end of this month.
I hope you're using CTSB staff too, because they're.
Well, that was a decision between Jake and Lucy, and, I think Jake had a contact that was doing it for very low cost.
Good.
So,
Yeah. I think also with relation to, I don't think it'll be fascinating to see. I don't know what the support for this 15,000 is going to be on the Southern Berkshire Regional School District. So that might be 2 out of the 10 that are not.
there's nothing to say that anybody's going to approve it. We have to ask,
Yes,
or
yes.
our work
I
is
know,
dead.
I know. I just, we just need to know what's going to happen if there's not, the money does not come to completion. I will not vote to put any more money into this. Okay? I know Bob's not going to vote to put this into it, probably. Okay?
Probably not.
But I don't want to have come back. And again, I'm not mad at you. I'm
I
trying
understand
to
that.
lecture you.
No.
I'm trying to speak to you and to Bonnie as representatives of this planning group. There's no money that I'm going to authorize to go into this other than I will vote for the 15,000. The other thing I think that has to happen is and I'm not going to ask her tonight, but I'll ask her later this week, if the education vision is gone. Bonnie was so excited about this. I'm very, I don't know what the word is, discouraged to hear where she is now. Okay, so I'm hoping that whatever those issues are can be worked out. I also know that nothing's going to go forward without the inter-town agreement, and those regional agreements are very hard to write. And that's where the devil shows up and how the money's going to be allocated, and it may all fall apart. And if we don't get to that point, but I'd like to see that if we could get to that. So, Bob, I don't know if you want to leave your second there and we just take a vote, or if you want to withdraw your second, and I second it and we take a vote. What would you be most comfortable
You can
with?
leave it there and we'll take a vote.
Okay, all right. Further discussion by the board.
I would just like that. I am torn too. I do like to see projects go all the way to the end and then have all the information. I just feel that at this point I have adequate information and enough to where I'm not willing to put another 15,000
I
to
understand
see
your
it
feeling
through.
completely.
So, but I do appreciate the work. I mean, this is a huge project and
I accept that totally, Bob. I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah, and, when we take our vote, if it goes the way I think it's going to go, we're giving a very firm message of support. With 2 out of 3, we don't have to be unanimous on anything, but we're also sending a message that we do want to see the results. We do want to see, and again, getting to the regional agreement is the hardest part of what's left, and then the community. And if the community's voted up, so be it. If the community's voted down, I just want them to have an opportunity to see the whole package. And I also know that we've got to get this worked out, okay? I don't want anybody to be so disappointed that's been putting time and energy into this regional planning, because everyone has. There's got to be some common ground that we can come to. So I'm going to take a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Okay, it carries.
Thank you.
And I know you'll take the message back, so thank you, maybe.
I will, for sure.
All right, I just want to give a very quick update on the cable renewal license process. We are one of 5 towns, as everybody knows, on the 5-town cable group. It's Sheffield, Lenox, Lee, Great Barrington, Stockbridge, I think I've got 5. And we have the joy of having the first license coming up with Charter Communications in Berkshire County. That was the Time Warner that was bought by Charter. So we have the first license that we'll be going to negotiate with Charter. As part of that state process, there's an ascertainment document that Rhonda has, and I believe she's going to put it up on the website if anybody wants to look at it. I think it's a really good document, to be honest. We also have taken the cable survey, which is already up on the website, and that really informed the ascertainment document. And then we put together what we wanted to see in the new cable license, renewal license, which is considerably different than what was in the old one, including the ability for liquidated damages, knowing when there is a breach of contract, quite a bit on the CET channels, CTSB channels. I'd really like to see if we could put that up there too. This has all gone to the proper state authorities. Last week it's gone to Charter, and it's now in their court. Bill Hewig of KP Law has been hired. You, a while ago, authorized some money for that process. KP Law has been hired to advise us once we start negotiations, and also they advised us on the renewal license we put forward. And now Charter's got the document. They supposedly have 30 days with which to respond with their proposed license renewal agreement. And then, with hope, we'll be into negotiations sometime in November. That is usually done by a subgroup of the people that have been appointed to the 5-town cable advisory group. So I will be in that once again. If somebody wants to come join me, you're welcome to, okay? But I did it the last time, which was interesting. I expect a much more difficult negotiations this time, and there's 2 other members at this moment, both from Lennox, that will be involved. So I'll keep the board very much informed. This will be an open negotiation. People can come to the meetings. They'll be posted. Nobody else wants to come into our area because of the entry fees, just the cost to get into the business. So I will be keeping you posted, but I'm hoping that we're going to make everyone proud, which will probably make Charter miserable, and that we will be able to set a good contract for those in Berkshire County that have to follow us. Bonnie?
Sorry.
Please.
Yes. A question. You just said no one wants to come in because of the entry fees. Could you elaborate?
Yes, you need to put up a network. You need to string it on the poles. You need to get the pole owners' permission. So after you've built the whole plant out, then you're going to need to, or before you build it, you need to go find people who will sign up for your cable service. And again, I should say the cable TV. That is the only thing that we have jurisdiction over.
Okay.
Cable TV. We don't have the internet. We don't have the broadband. We don't have the streaming. We don't have the telephone. We have cable TV. The entry costs are too high. The business entry costs are too high.
Thank you.
Okay. Next, we have board member items. Bob?
I'm good.
Nadine?
I have nothing, thank you.
I would just like to remind everyone of the Sheffield Fair. That's going to be this Saturday from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. It'll be over in the Sheffield Town Park, which, despite what Google says, is not at 21 Depot Square. It's off Route 7, off Miller, off Frederick Lane. Everybody wants to put it at 21 Depot Square. No, we have to get Google to be straightened out. But I hope everybody will come. We're going to have beautiful weather. Everything is free unless you want to buy something from the vendors or you want to buy food. It's animals, it's reptiles, it's Booey the Clown. It's going to be a wonderful event. So I hope you'll come, bring your family, bring, as many generations as you want to. It's really multi-generational. All right, Rhonda, Town Administrator items.
I don't have anything.
All right, public comment. Pat?
time I'll sit closer or move chairs farther.
True. You're getting your steps in.
Pat Levine, 261 East Main, and then I have to remember where I live. I just want to remind the board and all of town employees that there will be a Narcan training session next Tuesday at 5:30 here in Town Hall that is open to anyone within the town government structure. And it's something that if in fact there's a community interest in, I could even have another session with community participants. But this is for town employees and boards and commissions. Narcan training, 5:30 next Tuesday here in Town Hall. And speaking of the fair, and you don't even have to purchase something, the Board of Health has a table. We will be handing out COVID tests and tick removers.
Oh, now that's good. That's excellent.
That's a handy tool.
That's very handy. I wish I'd known that when I was putting the publicity together. Wonderful. Thank you very much, Pat. Anyone else? Bonnie?
Bonnie Silver, still at 15 Bow Wow Road. First, though I know the lead came from the Sheffield Historical Society, thank you so much for everything that all of you did, from administration and the board and all, to make the Elizabeth Freeman celebration quite an incredible event for our town. So that's a thank you. Next, I'm switching hats from school committee to cultural council. I've been doing investigation in terms of how towns support what the Massachusetts Cultural Council gives each of the towns. So far, what I found in a number of towns, what they do is they match what the town receives from the Cultural Council, or they give a certain amount of money. So I think what I would ask is somebody I could speak to in terms of, does this become a warrant item? Does this become something that the town, how the town would handle it, obviously for next year? So we discussed this at last week's Cultural Council meeting, and I was given the task to follow up. So I'd like to know that. Also, I'd like to know if in the funds that we have for this year, whether the town has any money to be able to match part or all of the $5,500 that we've been told we're getting from the state Cultural Council. As you know, we give it all away, so it's not doing anything other than supporting the Sheffield Fair and Dewey Hall and every other event. So anything, if it is at all possible, to be able to take any of the ESSER money or any of the other funds to be able to help us with that. The grant period just opened on September 1, and it's open for everyone for like the next 6 weeks. So it could be from the school, it could be from the community, community members, etc. And basically, Sheffield gives just about everything to Sheffield programs. Every once in a while, it's something like, let's say, a Green Agers project. They're physically in Egremont, but our program, our students, our kids, our graduates benefit, so they might put in a grant amount. So those are my 2 requests.
Okay, anyone want to talk about that? Rhonda, do you want to start?
Sure. So that would have to be a request to the Board of Selectmen to include it in the budget next year.
Okay.
I don't think there's anything in the budget this year.
There was.
There isn't.
In the budget
There isn't.
this year.
And then my question is, are there any funds from the funds that we've received because of COVID and everything else, where you could possibly discuss, I'm not asking for an answer right now, whether there could be any degree of match to the 5,500 that we're able to give this year, because we'd love to be able to give more money.
So Bonnie, I remember for quite a few years writing checks to the Cultural Council. I think Kathy Ness started this, where the Cultural Council actually appealed to the public. So what has happened to that? And I think the public was extremely generous.
We suspended that because of the whole COVID period, and many of our grants were held over. Just this past Thursday, we approved an appeal to the public to raise funds towards the Cultural Council. So all we like is to be able to give it away. So we are pursuing that. The list is ready. The letter was approved on Thursday. It's going out along with press release, et cetera. So we are doing that.
Okay. I almost, just speaking for myself, would prefer to have you bring back that request see if there's any like ARPA funds.
Right.
After you have finished your private fundraising, so that we can see how the community has responded. I'm a huge fan of private fundraising before people come to the town asking for things. Does that sound reasonable?
Yes.
Yeah, very
Okay.
much so. Thank
All
you.
right. Okay, wonderful. Anyone else? Then I'm going to ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. This meeting is adjourned.